Hi, everyone. It's me again. So the last video that I made and that we watched together was about dissecting a really bad academic essay that ChatGPT composed. And I walked through some of the reasons why you really could be in danger if you rely on ChatGPT to compose any type of academic assignment. However, as I mentioned in that other video, I'd be remiss and I'd quite frankly be stupid if I were to say that there was no place for AI and ChatGPT in certain types of workplace writing, and quite frankly, in almost all modes of communication at this point. I think it's silly if we ignore that this is not a tool that people are using. And by no means am I condoning you using ChatGPT to write every single thing you ever write. And in fact, in many cases, it just doesn't cut it, as we took a look at in the previous samples. But I want to talk a little bit about just some best practices regarding using ChatGPT in the workplace or in other applications, and really what you need to do as a editor and as a writer to address some of the issues of what ChatGPT produces. I want to focus today a bit on the workplace. But before I go into that, for many of my courses, I have a rule, which is that students have to kind of submit their written work through one of the AI checkers. Now, we could do a whole unit on the issues around those AI checkers. They're not always great, but they're pretty good to just engage the style of the writing, and if the prose that's being run through it was written by a human or by AI. But the rule of thumb is if you get a report back and it says that more than 40% of the text is likely written by AI, I need you to redo the assignment. Um, I think that's a really good rule of thumb to follow. And it's no hard and set rule, but in my sort of best practice is if you are going to use ChatGPT to produce text, it really, the final product should only look like 40% of what ChatGPT actually pumped out on round one. The rest really needs to be edited. There needs to be some nuance added. And in some cases, things need to be condensed or clarified, or in some cases, elaborated on. So I want to take a look at the sample. It's embedded in the course. So you can take a look at this in a lot more detail, line by line, in the course shell and the module. But I asked ChatGPT to write a memo rather, excuse me, to call center employees of a company to discuss proper phone etiquette. And you can see right here in front of you, this is what the initial document was that was created. Um, you're probably seeing already. I mean, this is pretty darn hard to follow with all of these asterisks. And I mean, the bulleted lists throughout that really aren't bulleted. When it's also way too long for a workplace memo. If you know anything about that, memos are meant to be short, concise, and to the point. You literally have a two-page memo laid out in front with an extremely difficult process to read it. Again, like we talked about in the previous video, what is up with all of these headers? This isn't how we normally write. In some applications, it is, but in a case like this, is this all necessary? I also want to call to your attention some of the redundancy here of some of the bullets that the initial document had. They talk multiple times about your tone of voice and how you should be eager to help the customer. But then multiple times it talks about how you should address the customer, like this empathy bullet point. Um, politeness. Again, this is all covered multiple times throughout this, and it starts to become and feel a little bit like a repeat as we go through this initial document. All right. Again, here's this sense of like being polite and the need for an apology and problem solving. So I took a look at this and I really wanted to condense it down to make it sound a little bit more like a human wrote it, but also to get rid of this length, to make this much more brief, to be honest with you, and to make it a little bit more digestible. So in the revision, I want you to see immediately, I got rid of all that formatting that was bombarding that original document and cleaned it up much better. I also want to compare even the text in the opening paragraph, the original one, to my edit. I'm going to go back to the original for a second and read. In our call center, every phone call is an opportunity to deliver exceptional service and reinforce our commitment to professionalism. Adhering to proper phone etiquette is essential in creating a positive experience for our customers and maintaining the reputation of our company. This memo outlines the key elements of phone etiquette that all employees must follow. It's very vague. It doesn't mention anything about the company. It also comes off with really poor ethos. Ethos is essentially the way a piece of communication or a way a piece of writing ultimately feels to those who hear it and receive it. The whole idea of like must follow and the brevity of some of these sentences makes it come off really poor, almost like it's a set of marching orders, which doesn't really help develop any sort of sense of wanting to do it from the recipient's end. I want you to see how I made the edit here. At Butler Enterprises, the fake name of the company I created here, at Butler Enterprises, every phone call is an opportunity to deliver exceptional service and reinforce our commitment to our clients. We consider you an important part of creating the personalized experience that our patrons have come to know and trust from our organization. An important part of this experience is adhering to proper phone etiquette, which assists with maintaining the customer-first reputation of our company. With that said, we'd like to provide some tips on providing five-star service to every patron who contacts our call center. Note how the tone here is so much more approachable. It also makes that end recipient feel like they are a part of something, and it sounds like a human wrote it now compared to that first sample. That was indeed, I hate saying this, it's the most obvious comparison I can make. It sounded robotic, to be frank with you. All right. Um, I also want you to take a look at how I reduced the extensive amount of bullet points that were in this first sample down to a much more manageable chunk. Okay. Um, and I combined a lot of the bullet points together. You could take a look at the line by line in the core shell, but probably just by briefly looking at it, you can see. All right. Um, and I also edited the language on many of those bullet points, again, to make it a little bit more reader friendly and also to make it sound like a human wrote it. Okay. Um, I got rid of a few other headers at the bottom, like the documentation header, and just sort of built it into part of the prose here. And then I'm going to again go back and compare the closing paragraphs from the AI sample to the revised. Okay. Um, your professionalism, this is the AI sample. Your professionalism on every call directly impact our customers' perceptions of our company. By adhering to these phone etiquette guidelines, we can ensure that each interaction reflects the high standards of service we strive to uphold. Please review these guidelines regularly and incorporate them into every call. If you have any questions or need further clarification, do not hesitate to reach out to your supervisor. Thank you for your continued dedication to excellence. Again, note like how choppy that is, and again, how robotic and lack of personalization. Let's take a look at the edit I made. We are confident that our stellar call center team will adhere to these phone etiquette best practices. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to your supervisor or to me. Thanks for your continued efforts to provide excellent customer service to every customer who contacts Butler Enterprises. Okay. Um, Much more friendly, much more audience first. And again, it's almost a complete rewrite of the language. That is the biggest point I want you to get away from this. You can't wholesale take text that's created by ChatGPT and just use it. You really have to edit it dramatically so that it almost looks like two different pieces of writing. You're going to have an opportunity to do this as an assignment in this module as well. And I want you to keep this in mind. Review the document of both of these samples in the course and really note how much editing I did here. It actually sounds much more as a human. The biggest piece of advice I can give to everybody in this course or to anybody about how do you use ChatGPT to create workplace text is that it serves as a basis. It is not the end product. You still have to go in and manipulate and edit what has been produced to A, make it sound a little bit more approachable, and B, just logically clean it up and personalize it.